Alright, hello everybody. We are going to be talking about catweaving in this video. So I guess we'll just kind of do live commentary over it. The very first thing that's the most important is a lot of people get stuck on this idea from previous expansions about healers and all that matters is doing as much damage as possible. But that's not necessarily true in the current season, in Season 3 in Dragonflight, just because of the fact that a lot of the timers are so lenient that it really doesn't matter how much damage you're doing as a healer.
Line
And then
of
also
sight.
there's the thing that, like, in previous expansions, healers did substantial damage, but now in the current game, they do not do anywhere near as much damage as, say, DPS players. So it's more important to keep your DPS safe and alive so that they feel more comfortable and confident and they can do their damage. And then you do damage after you've made sure that all that's happening. I think this tank might die. No, it's good. Okay, so now let's go ahead and talk about the priorities of catweaving or doing damage as a resto druid. So the first, I guess the first thing that you're trying to do is just apply as many dots as you possibly can onto your target or targets. And that's going to first start off with Adaptive Swarm, so just pressing it on cooldown as much as possible on things, either allies or enemies. The general rule is you want to try to get to 5 stacks of Adaptive Swarm. So like if you have Adaptive Swarm back up, you want to press it on somebody with 2 or 3 stacks. That's like the most important. And then after that, you can kind of press it on, anyone else, anyone that has 1 stack or 0 stack, stuff like that. But look out for those 3 stacks. Like right here, I have Adaptive Swarm up and we have a 3 stack. I want to press it on him. On the Paladin, because then it becomes a 5 stack, and then it has a chance to split, and then you do a bunch of extra damage.
Sight.
4, 3, 2, 1.
So, prioritize healing over everything else. Then use Adaptive Swarm as much as possible. You really want to get in the habit of pressing it as much as you possibly can. And then after that, the priority of abilities that you usually use is going to be, it changes depending on how many targets there are, but my methodology when playing this game is to not overcomplicate things, as you guys can probably tell from the rest of my videos, and to just kind of focus on the fundamentals. And as long as you're good at the fundamentals, all the little tiny complex details about, like, oh, you should press swipe over, rip at 8 targets or something, like, I don't worry about a lot of that stuff until it really, really matters. The priority is just put as many dots as you possibly can on the target you're fighting or the targets. So like right here, we're going to go pull, multiple mobs. And what we're going to want to do is apply Moonfire and Sunfire to them since we start out in human form here. So once they're all grouped up, I'll press Sunfire. I'll Moonfire each of them, which again, this isn't... And then we're going to go in cat form. We're going to Thrash, apply that Adaptive Swarm. And then what I usually do here is I try to pick like a priority target. So instead of just sitting here and spamming swipe over and over, which is definitely doable, like that's the easy way of doing it, I try to find stuff that is either higher health than everything else or that needs to die first or is more important. So like say these Juggernauts are pretty healthy, so we're going to use Rake and Rip on them. So then I'll switch to the other Juggernaut, Rake and Rip. I'm going to die there because I wasn't focusing on healing. And that's like the idea. So instead of just sitting there spamming swipe, I'm trying to pick out specific targets that need to die faster or are higher health than everything else. And like here, I'll Sunfire, Moonfire, Break, Thrash. We're going to die because we lost aggro. I don't know why I was hitting that when I already knew that it was on the Hunter and killing him. Maybe it would aggro to somebody else. And then here, Sunfire. You can kind of Moonfire each thing. Apply Adaptive Swarm, do a little bit of healing. And once I feel safe on the healing department, another way that we can do damage is after we've applied Moonfire and Sunfire to everything, and ideally our cat form dots too, but it doesn't have to be that way. You can go into balance form and then just use Convoke in balance form, and it will prioritize using things like Starfall and Starfire and Full Moon and stuff like that. So that's how you do the most damage with your Convoke. So Convoke is a versatile cooldown where you can use it for DPSing, or you can use it to heal. So anytime Convoke is up and I don't feel like I need it within the next minute for healing, I will just go into balance form and use it for damage. So here again, we applied Moonfire, we applied Sunfire. Now we're just going through and basically pressing Rake and Rip on each of the targets. And then after that, I'll press a few swipes, but then I already need to renew Moonfire and Sunfire, so then I'll do that. So we're prioritizing getting those dots on as many things as possible over just, spamming one button over and over. That's another thing, is if you're fighting things and they're dying fast, you do not need to wait until you're at 5 combo points to spend. So like here, the Honor Guard's pretty low HP. I don't have to put a 5 combo point rip on him because he's going to die way before that does anything. And that's, with rip specifically, it doesn't do more damage the more combo points you have. It just increases the duration of how long it's on the target. So when we have multiple targets like this, we applied Moonfire and Sunfire to everything. And then I'll just go in and I'll just start applying rip as soon as I can on each target. So I'm just raking and ripping each target. Apply Thrash again, Sunfire, Moonfire, go through and Moonfire everything again. Apply a Captive Swarm, do some healing. And after we do some healing, I can go into balance form again and use Convoke. Probably should have waited until that Bulwark was gone, because now it did no damage. And then a slight bonus tip with Convoke is that you can press Nature Swiftness right before you Convoke. And this is also for healing, but it also works for damage too if you're running the, the Nature's Vigil talent. You can use Nature's Vigil and press, go into balance form and use Nature's Swiftness and Convoke. And then whenever you cast Regrowth during your Convoke, it will boost it with the Nature's Swiftness without consuming it. So all your Regrowths do like double healing basically. And it doesn't consume the Nature's Swiftness. So just every Regrowth you press is doing twice as much healing, which is really, really potent. Especially then when you run a talent like Nature's Vigil and you have that activated at the same time, and it makes all your direct healing do damage as well. So then all those buffed regrowths are also doing damage. Just a little bonus thing. Okay, so now that I've ran through quickly, you might have to rewind and kind of go back through it a couple times. I'm sorry I didn't have it organized or anything like that. But that's the base idea. Apply as many dots as you can to all the targets you're fighting, and use Convoke in balance form if you want to do the most damage. So now I'm just going to do the rest of this key and just kind of talk through what I'm doing when it comes into my head. So here we're doing some healing because the Honor Guard is going to start doing some group-wide damage. So I just make sure everybody has a hot on them, and then after that I can go back to damage. So like now everyone has a hot on them. I don't need to worry about these bursting stacks. No one's going to immediately die. I mean, there is always a chance, but like the Hunter's standing in the goop for a tick too long. And now we just reapply those dots, or those hots really quick. And that's how I usually try to weave in my damage as a Resto Druid. Is we try to apply hots to everybody, and that's like the first priority. And then after we've applied hots to people, that's when we go, okay, now I can do some damage. So again, we're gonna break, thrash, rip. That time we started in cat form. Then we Moonfire and Sunfire. Run over here, Moonfire, Sunfire. Just dot up all the totems. And then now I need to switch to prioritizing healing. We're gonna put hots on everybody. Everyone's nice and healthy. And then we can do a Convoke. Try to hit this totem that's a lot higher HP. We're gonna have more healing to do here, but we have hots rolling on a lot of people, so it's okay. We can just focus on doing damage now. Dot up this totem, and then we're gonna want to dot up this other totem that's 12% HP. Everyone's gonna like to switch to the totem that's high HP and then not go back on their own totem. Then we can just bite this totem. It's gonna die. Then we're back to healing. And once I have hots on everybody, we can go ahead and start doing damage to the boss. And because I'm going to need to do healing again soon, I only applied a 3 combo point rip by just going into cat form, pressing Rake, pressing Thrash, and then pressing rip. So now I have time to build up those combo points and apply rip. So now we're doing that, putting Spring Blossoms on the ground, throwing out some Treants so they can kind of carry the healing for a second. Captive Swarm, and then we're back into cat form. Reapply those dots. And now we'll go back to doing a little bit of healing. Apply hots to people. Reapply those dots to the boss, and we're just going back and forth. It's literally just apply hots, apply dots, apply hots, apply dots. And then if we build enough combo points, this especially happens on bosses a lot. If we apply combo points and our rip is still like very heavy in duration, if it's like over 10 seconds basically, I will use bite instead. But that's really the only time I press bite over rip is if I already have rip on everything, or you know, a boss, and then I have combo points that I need to spend again in single target. Otherwise in AoE I just try to spam and reapply rip to like everything as much as possible basically. The exception would be if there's like a very important priority target that needs to die over everything else like very, very quickly. Then we would just be ripping and biting it. Heart of the Wild, we have hots rolling, so everyone should be fine. We're mostly just doing damage to the Sky Screamer because it's going to live the longest. Here we'll apply Moonfire and Sunfire as we run over, then go back in cat form. Rake, Rash, Rip. And then now I can go in balance form and press a Convoke since we have all our dots on that Sky Screamer and we don't really need to apply dots to the Sards. I would say Sunfire and Rash is like the most you'd want to do to them. Otherwise we just focus our attention on the Sky Screamer. Now we're going into the next pack, so we'll just use our combo points to rip the new Sky Screamer. Reapply Adaptive Swarm. Now we're going into the next pack, so I'm going to save my combo points again. Rip one of them. I rip again, and then we want to jump out, probably use Sunfire, Moonfire everything. Back in, we'll Thrash, and then we're just kind of rake and ripping the individual target, even though it's a short duration rip. And now we have time to reapply Sunfire and Moonfire. Not going to reapply it on the Augur since it's pretty much already dead. And then now we can fight the Honor Guard because Rip isn't going to last long enough. Matter. That's it. That's pretty much how you do damage. So again, there's definitely, if you really want to min-max it, there is specifics on like if you have this many targets, this ability takes priority over that ability. I really don't worry too much about that because I'm more concerned with just being good at the fundamentals of the game and not all these min-maxy specific things. So if that's your thing and you're into that, then go for it, but it's not something that I think that you need to worry about. Even doing some of the highest keys in the world, I really think it's overthought of by a lot of players, and you can get by completely fine without it. Because it's going to make up like less than 5% of your overall damage if you do everything perfectly compared to if you're just good at the fundamentals. A lot of your time and energy in this game should just be spent being good at the fundamentals of the game, and everything else just kind of flows naturally. Because once you're good at the fundamentals, you have way more free space to kind of think proactively and stuff about what's happening. We're going to try to apply dots before we go into this pack, and then I'll go into cat form and stealth because we get a stun and extra damage on our rake when we come out of stealth. And then we just Rash and apply Sunfire, and then we're just kind of tab targeting and spamming Moonfire, putting our hots back down to refresh those just in case, and because there's going to be a lot of bursting stacks. And now I press Flourish, and then we can go and Convoke probably in balance form. Another fun thing with Convoke, actually, is that if you are Convoking in, like, say, cat form or balance form, you can switch out of it, and it will not, like, you can switch out of your form into human form, and it will not cancel your Convoke. So then you get to change the priority of all your spells, because now it'll prioritize casting healing spells for the remaining of your Convoke rather than damage spells. But you cannot do it the reverse way. You can't start a Convoke in human form and then switch into balance form when you decide, hey, I don't actually need all this healing. So, that's why I try to, unless I know I need the Convoke for healing, I will start in balance form, and then if worst possible case is that I just have to switch into human form when I go, oh shoot, I actually need to, heal, or someone got hit by a frontal, or, something like that. Keeping all these dots rolling on the boss as much as possible. Now applying some to the ad. Now we have transfusion, and usually when there's about 10 seconds on transfusion, that's when I start applying all my hots to everybody. And then dealing with transfusion is really simple. It's just press a defensive, swift bend someone, and then wild growth right as all the damage starts, and then just kind of spam regrowth. Really all you do. And then now we don't need to worry about healing because there's no other damage that happens in the fight until the next transfusion. So now we just go back to doing damage, refreshing all those dots on the boss. I need to get the add-on again that I had. I don't know what happened to it, but it used to track my my spells that I'm casting on the screen. Maybe I got rid of it when I wasn't streaming as much. I don't remember. I'll have to do that for these commentary videos. Then it just shows a timeline of the abilities I'm pressing, so it's a little easier to follow along rather than me just ranting about the buttons I'm pressing. Hopefully this was helpful. I tried to do my best with the live commentary videos and not make them like overwhelming. Hopefully you guys got the fundamentals again of catweaving or doing damage as a resto druid. And then you guys can kind of take it and run with it. And if you have any questions or anything like that, then feel free to ask in the comments and I will reply to them. Ooh. Another thing to simplify like this whole idea of doing damage is don't try to do it all at once. So when you start, like if you haven't, if you're just starting on like, hey, I want to do damage as a resto druid, just start by Moonfire, Sunfire, and then just using your Convokes offensively. So jumping into balance form and using your Convokes. And then other than that, you can literally just press Wrath. So we just go like this, like... And instead of going into cat form, I would just make sure Sunfire and Moonfire are on the boss, and then I just press Wrath in my free time. So no one needs healing right now, I just spam Wrath over and over. And then it's like, okay, now I press Adaptive Swarm. Now I'm spamming Wrath. Spamming Wrath, spamming Wrath, spamming Wrath. Healing this guy with a dot. And then reapplying my dots. Sunfire, Moonfire, spam Wrath. And you just do that. And then once you get more comfortable, then you start going, okay, now I'll go in cat form and I'll apply, Rake and Rip. And then we'll go back in human form. Just do stuff like that. So just take it one step at a time and add, basically add an ability or two each time to your rotation in terms of doing damage. Where are we going with these? I don't know. Uh-oh. He doesn't die right there. He might. Make sure that there's hots on the Paladin, and then redot the boss, rebuff, by Adaptive Swarm, dots on the boss, use a damage Convoke here, which just means going into balance form and pressing Convoke. That's what I mean when I press, or when I say damage Convoke versus a healing Convoke. Some of us are going to the... that's not good at all. Do some damage. Okay, we're gonna get everyone nice and healthy because then Ad is probably gonna touch the boss here. Yep. Now we're just gonna heal because we have a lot of healing to do for the next 20 seconds. Some treants. Very good. Now we have everyone hotted up, so we should be good to do a little bit of damage. Hot everybody for the soul run coming up. Awesome. Sweet. Oh, but we don't have enough percent. Alright, well, that's it for do damage to Resto Druid. So hopefully this was helpful. If not, let me know, and I can try to kind of reformat the videos. You guys just let me know what you find useful. I prefer doing the live commentary stuff. I don't mind doing guides also. I just know that they're kind of everywhere, and I
Charge.
like to bring a different approach to it. And my focus is always towards practicality rather than just like reading a Wowhead guide to you guys and just telling you that's how you do it, because it just feels overcomplicated in that way. So just let me know what you guys think. And other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. See ya.